Okay, so what we're going to need for this tutorial is some crumpled paper and a mediocre photograph. Well, it could be a good photograph, but what we're going to be doing is taking a photograph that's okay and making it way cooler. All right, first things first. I'm going to save this initial photo file, save as, and I'm going to make sure that I save it somewhere I know where it is. I'm going to call this Aaron in Sao Paulo, SP, and I'm going to save it. It is a small photo. It's not high resolution by any means, but I would like it to be a little bigger. So depending on the size of your image, you may want to increase the size of this. The trick here is not so much about quality, but about mood and a sense of essence. So I want to create a little piece of memorabilia for him that he can have with this cool photo. So I'm going to resize it, and when I go to image size, I want to look at the choices here for resampling. In general, it's wise when you resize something to do it in even numbers. So I'm going to resize this 200% on either side, both width and height. And now I've got something that's more like 4 megs, which would actually print rather decently. And I'm actually going to change this to 150 on the pixels. So now I have something that's 15. Probably don't need it that big. I'll bring this down to 300. Now I have something that could potentially be really blurry and JPEGy. So I want to look carefully when I'm choosing my size, my interpolation, which is interpretation. And I want to get something smoother. So I'm going to go with bicubic here instead of smoother enlargement. I want smooth gradients. Hopefully I will diminish, and ever so slightly diminish, some of the noise on that. Part of the charm of this image is also going to be that it does have some grunginess to it. So now I have it much bigger sized, and I'm going to zoom out, and of course I can see a lot more detail in the background that I may or not really want to see. All right, and I'm going to be dealing with that in a moment. The next thing, once I've got this resized to the size I want, is I'll save it again, and then I will henceforth turn it into more of a black and white image. To do this, I am going to not just go and remove the saturation. I know we've talked about this before, so I just thought it would be a good opportunity to do another adjustment to black and white. And when I choose black and white, I get the initial default settings. But I want to open up some of the midtones around his neck, and I also am going to do some layering to create more of a setback quality to the background. So initially I'll just jump through. I'm not expecting any of these one things to be exactly the panacea, although I'm liking darker better than default. So if I look at default and I compare that to darker, yeah, I kind of like that one. And I'm going to look here for neutral density. That's not so great. So maximum black, also a little too heavy. Now you can do a thing where you mix two images together. So yes, I know I got you started doing this, but I am going to cancel. I'm going to cancel, and then I'm going to duplicate this layer. Okay. Now, the idea for this part is I want to have the photo of Aaron having one set of black and white tonalities and the set of the background having another set of tonalities. So I'm going to make the top one be for the crowd. And again, it's going to be image adjustments, black and white. And for this one, I'm going to do maximum black. It really puts a much nicer dark on the black background. I don't want that same look for him, but that's how I want the background to appear. And if you wanted to change this more, you could slide your sliders, and you'll notice that you can open or close up some of the tonalities. And again, I'm looking in the background, really not looking at him so much. And I want the background to start becoming less prominent. I don't want to get too much black stuff around his head, like there's somebody's bag or something. That could be dangerous. And that looks a little better. Okay, and I'm going to just click. Okay, so that's the first one for the background. When you're done with that, hide that layer, click the second copy of the layer if you're in fact doing a 2-layer adjustment as I am. And now I'm going to do it again, image, adjustments, and black and white. And default's not bad, but I think I liked darker just a little bit better. So those are my 2 versions of the black and white image. And you can see they are quite a bit different. Okay. Once you've got that, probably should save your file again. And I'll give you a minute to get that together. And on this top layer, I'm going to add a layer mask. So here is the mask, and I'm going to do B for brush, making sure that I have opacity of 100% and a softish brush, meaning hardness 0, that should do. And here, as I'm painting that, it's really doing a good job of lightening up and smoothing on the part that's my brother and his face, arm, body. I want to get this across on his arm. It makes this skin tone or skin area look a lot smoother. And if I look carefully at my mask, I can see where I need to add or take away. Okay, that looks good.
So now you're trying to emphasize what you want to be visible after the mask is on?
Exactly. The bottom layer is the lighter layer, and the top layer is the darker layer. So it helps to make him pop out a little more. I think it does. Just making sure I do a good job here on the details. The edge of the neck, the shirt. Cool. Okay, and I'll save it again. All right. Not a very often used feature, but I didn't mean to double click there. I'm going to do a levels adjust, Command L, and or I could actually use an adjustment layer. I'll use an adjustment layer. So I'm going to add an adjustment layer, and it's going to be a levels adjustment layer. And the part that I don't use very much is the bottom part here. This output levels, which essentially is really just either dumping black or dumping white on your image. And if you notice, I'm doing it on the wrong layer. So I will not do that. I will cancel out of that and roll this up. This is an exciting thing I'm going to tell you. You're going to love it. All right, so I'm going to select, making sure I have the image selected, and now I'm going to add the layer mask again. And the layers mask if you notice, the layer mask on this panel has a thing here that allows you to clip it to only the layer beneath it. Otherwise, it's going to change everything. I'm going to make the change first, and then I'll show you what it looks like with the clip on, okay? So I'm going to double click here, and then I'm going to roll this down so I get this much darker situation, okay? Now, without putting the clip on, this is what I get. But I really want the clip on, which is only going to affect that top layer, which is the people layer. Aaron's layer is down here. So this is just for Aaron. Just Aaron. And Aaron. And this is for the people. All right. So for this layer mask, this adjustment layer, I can now click on this little button here. I know it's minuscule and tiny, but when I click it, it now only affects the layer underneath it. It, in fact, has indented itself. So now he's really standing out. So you can see that's a major difference between the two black and whites. And now I want to check again and make sure I did a decent job on the mask here, because I can see I did not get it all here. For the side of his head was not masked properly. Look at all that I missed. I was wondering when I was looking at my mask why it looked so bizarre. I was like, that does not look right. But this is important because I'm getting a lot of the highlights back in his glasses. You might want to zoom in. And again, I can compare and contrast with it on and with it off. This also will show you if you missed any major bits. You can see I did. And sometimes I'll just point my finger right on the screen here so I know where I need to paint. Okay, looking better. So, before and after. Okay, that looks great, much better. And I'll save it again. All right, I'll give you another. The next step of this is I want to colorize the image, but not just a regular colorize, a different kind of a colorize. And to do this, I'm going to use my grungy paper image. So I'm on the top layer, and I'm going to go to Window, and I have my paper, and I'll select all and copy it, Command A, Command C, or Edit Copy, Edit Paste. But where I'm pasting it is going to be over here on this image. So I'm going to paste it. It's okay that it's too small because this isn't really about being high resolution. It's about a technique or an effect. And I'm going to rotate, and then I'm going to drag this to fit the image around the corners. And it went on its own layer, and I'll press return. And I'll save again. All right, so I did darken the background a little bit, and now when I put my paper on here, obviously that is not really going to satisfy exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm going to make a duplicate of this also, and I do this often. I'll put this behind everything else just to keep it ones for safekeeping that I can't see. So this one that's behind everything, I know it's there, but I'm not really doing anything with it yet. Now, as I begin the next set of steps, I'm looking for a combination that gives me a kind of a nostalgic look. It's kind of a oxymoron because it's a modern picture with a nostalgic look. But as you go through here, it's clearly not going to be dissolved. That doesn't really do anything. Or darken. I mean, that is kind of scary looking. I mean, it might look good for something else, but not for this. Multiply is just going to make everything dark. Color burn is going to only color where it's medium shades. Linear burn, same kind of thing. And darker color also kind of strange. Now, if we look at these blend modes, they're actually divided into sections. All these in the first section, I'm calling the darken and everything below that the first section. well, first section is really this. So the second section here is everything that is in here makes things darker. Everything that's in here has something to do with lightening. Everything that's in the next section has something to do with contrast. Everything that is below that is something to do with negative color, and everything below that is colorizing. So if I did hue, I would really not see a whole lot. It is not doing a darn thing. If I did color, it's colorizing it to brown, which is kind of nice. I think it's kind of nice. And if I did another one here, which I skipped over completely, such as overlay, then I get sort of some of the wrinkles in there. And if I do soft light, I like the color of that the best. I'm not really seeing a whole lot of wrinklage in that. I see some wrinkles in his arms, which he probably won't like. He'll be like, what's up with my arms? He won't like that. So I might want to retouch that out on the original. So if I turn this off again to normal, I can see there's some pretty serious wrinkles right here. One way I could address that, and this is a good way, is Command T, and I'm going to rotate the whole thing. Hopefully I don't have any new bad wrinkles there. So now I'll put it again to soft light. And yeah, no scary wrinkles. I do have some scary wrinkles on his neck now. Knowing my brother, he would not like that. So I'm going to increase the size. I'm going to go to the apply transformation, yes. And then I'm going to go to the healing brush, spot healing brush. And I'm going to run it right here on this funky thing here. Wiggle it. There we go. So I'm getting that scary crease out of there. And that's much better. All right. So what isn't happening that I want to have happening is I want to see more of the wrinkle. And I am using the paper to change the color, which is good, but that's kind of not the whole deal. I wanted to have in the background here a real case of wrinkliness. So I'm going to take the copy of layer 1 and I'm going to drop it on top of the first one. And then again, I'm going to do another set of settings here. In fact, I'm going to look at multiply. And I know that looks really uber dark, but I can lighten that up a little. I'm going to opacity lighten. And now I'm starting to get a little of the wrinkle in the back. Maybe not enough. And I'm going to do darken. And I do get some interesting crumply looking things in the back, which I like. And I'm going to try hard light. And that is probably closer. Vivid light, very atmospheric. Pin light. Now, pin light, I like some of the weird interactions, but not on his face. I'm going to go back to normal, shockingly so. And because I have dimmed down the opacity quite a bit, I'm going to dim it down so that the background is really encased in the paper. Okay. Then I'm pretty sure I showed you this already, and if I didn't, I apologize. If I did, it's a review. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to press the Option key and click on this layer mask from the second to the bottom layer, and I'm going to drag it up. By pressing the Option key, it should be copying that layer. Yeah, baby. And now I get this very strange effect of somewhat masked, somewhat unmasked. You can see my sloppy errors here in the masking, where I can still fix this. It's also pretty harsh. I'm kind of feeling like it's a little too harsh. But some of this I can fix very easily. So I'm going to press X to bring white onto my brush. I'm going to go to brush and try it again here. Here's my brush. And with white on the tip of my brush, if I press this little arrow, I can then clean up these oddball bits right here around his arm, right? I'm unmasking, in a sense, this part, and it kind of messed up here around his neck, the back of his shirt. Okay, better, way better. And it's a little freaky looking, but I'm going to go back to the opacity and make this less. Something like that. Now I see it's kind of a good mixture of both. Right, so you can see what's happening here. It's really starting to push him forward and push the background back. It starts to look a little surreal, but that's the fun of it. You can also increase the contrast in the topmost paper image. So to do that, you got it. I'm going to add another adjustment mask. Adjustment mask. And I'm going to move the adjustment mask actually. No, I'm not. I'm going to put, what did I do there? Yeah, here it is. Here's my mask, making sure I select my mask. And I want to, what did I pick here? Vector mask. Probably not the right choice. So I'm going to undo that and try this again. I'm going to click on the layer and click on the cookie, and this time I've got it correct. And I'm going to choose levels is fine. And I'm going to clip it. So here's the little clippy button. And what should be happening now is I can increase some of that feeling of the wrinkles. Looks better on my monitor than it does on screen, so I apologize for that. So before and after. Hardly looks different up there. Right, please let me know if you're stuck. There's a little bit more to do on this, but we're getting very close. Again. So I'm going to click on the mask side here because I don't want this much contrast. I just think it looks really harsh. So with this side selected, I'm going to go Command L, and what I'm adjusting is the mask. And I'm making the mask lighter, and you can see it turning grayer here. It just a little softens the image. And then I Command Z, back and forth. And I'm going to save again and give you another minute. And then I'm going to add the finishing touches. You may not have ever really looked in here before, but if you click on the little arrow here, you can see there are a lot of different brush settings. I'm not going to get deep down into these brush settings. What I am going to talk about, however, is the fact that you can click on this little button, and that is incorrect, Abigail. Okay, let's come over here. Fly out method. Here we go. Fly out menu on this menu, and you can see there's all these other brushes. Wet media brushes, natural brushes, dry media brushes, basic brushes, calligraphy brushes, square brushes, thick heavy brushes, blah, 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 blah. Awesome brushes. There is something else you should know about. And the other thing that you should know about is a wonderful place to download some brushes. Recife Brushes, download. Goodies. Right here, they are, okay? So these are some pretty cool free things. And there is 7 sets of brushes. And I'm going to show you how to download a brush set and to install it. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So I'm not being too picky right now, but I'm going to pick download. I don't know what brushes are in this set. This is set 1. I'm going to click OK, and it's downloading, and there it is. I can see that it downloaded into my downloads, which is a great place for it to download. And I'm going to move the whole folder over onto my desktop so I know where it is. Reading is fundamental. There it is, desktop. Okay. So that's the brush set I want, and now I need to install those brushes to make them work, because otherwise I can't paint with them. And to do that, I'm going to go back up here to the top, or just to be on the safe side, I'm going to go to the menu here that is called Brush. And then there's another one here, window, called Brush Presets. From the flyout menu here, I can do Load Brushes. Load Brushes. And now on the desktop, I have the folder with these brushes in it. ABR is Adobe Brush Type, and you simply double click on it, and if everything is well in the world, I should now have these brushes. There they are. I believe these are them at the bottom. This looks like them. They look all messy and splattery and bizarre. What is cool about these brushes is they have this kind of very grungy textures, that are fun for borders. So I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm using one of these brushes, which is very hard to tell what you're doing because they are tiny, but I picked one here, and I'm holding it right now. You can see this is what it looks like. And I'm going to change my color. I have a new layer. I wanted to make sure I said that. I do have a new layer. And now I'm going to come over to the corner. I want to paint this. Ooh, yeah. How sweet is that? It's sweet. Now, I don't think that there's one for every corner, which is a sad state of affairs. I only have a right corner here. And if I wanted that in every corner, it might look a little repetitive, but you could totally do it. You could make this look like it's flipped over. So just give me another second, and then I'll stop talking, because I know you want to do this, and you're like, oh my God, okay? So I'm going to click here up on the edge so it goes close to where I want it, but I'm going to give it like equidistant away from the edge here. So I've clicked. Now I've painted it. And I'm going to do it again right on top, so it's darker, but it doesn't look very dark, but I'm going to do it again. Okay, good enough. So now I'm going to use the Select Marquee tool, and I'm going to make a marquee just around this piece. I'm going to go Command-T, and I'm going to flip it into place, like that. Return, deselect. V for move, arrow, 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 oops, deselect, escape, or something, return, and here I move this one over inadvertently, V, move it over. So now I'll let you go to town with that. And I'm creating a custom border around this. Here. So as I've been pasting little pieces of the brushes here, I'm copying and pasting, I now want to make them all into one layer. And layer 2, this is actually the main frame, so I'm going to call that frame. And now I'll start at the top and Command E, Command E, Command E, Command E, and now it's all part of the frame. And so Command E is merge down, and now I have an eraser, and I can actually see if I am erasing. I did, I erased. And here I could erase a little here, but I want a brush that's rough on that side, so I can kind of making sure that I have my opacity for my brush up at 100. That looks good. And checking, making sure I'm really erasing on the correct layer, because that's also pretty important. That's better. Okay. All right, a little bit more paint and I'm done. I'm going to wrap it up here so we can get on to the grass tutorial. So I'm going to go back to B for brush. And get another vertical piece, increase the size, and drop this down here. Looking good. All right, just for kicks and giggles, you should realize, of course, that if you clicked on that layer that has the frame on it, and you did Command I, you could see what the frame looks like in white. Much nicer. Okay, that was the plan. And then you can undo, or Command I again. And then here I can paint a little more. I think the white frame is kind of what makes it. And I'll put white on my brush. And or increase the size of the brush, lower the opacity of the brush. It's getting there now. Sometimes you might find you want to, even though you've collapsed everything down, you may want to paint on another layer just to get some of a brush and then erase. I have watched my students become completely entranced with this over the years. It's pretty crazy. All right, I'm going to save my file. And the last little bit of this on the home stretch, my friends. So I'm going to select kind of trippy, right? I'm going to select the bottom layer, that's the Aran layer, and I'm going to use the marquee tool, and I'm going to do a rough cut here. I'm going to rough cut around his glasses. Okay, I'm not trying to do too neat of a job on this because I can clean it up when I get it going where I want. So here I have now a rough selection around the glasses. Boom. That's from here, the Just Aran layer. Making sure I am selected on that layer. I've got the rough cut, a rough selection, and now I'm going to do something layer new via copy. Okay, via copy. Okay, now it doesn't look like anything happened, but if you look, there's just the glasses by themselves. And I'm going to push this to the top of the stack. I'm also, while I'm thinking about it, going to collapse that piece into the frame. Now, it looks kind of strange that the glasses are in black and white, but exactly registered to his face. Okay? And I'm going to colorize them. Blue or something. So I'm going to go ahead and add a hue adjustment layer, hue saturation. I'm going to clip it in, and then I'm going to do a colorize, and I'm going to make something happen here, or not. It should be changing color by now. What am I doing? Colorize, hue saturation. Why you no change? I want you to change. Oh, because I'm on the wrong layer. Heh. Okay, so I need to get out of there and move this up. This should work. There we go. Still not getting it. All right, I need to undo. Shift Command Z. Having Option Command Z. And there we go. Click this layer, Abigail. Then click on the cookie. Add a hue saturation layer. There it goes. Then I'm going to clip it in. There's the clipper. Clip. And now colorize. Click. And now I can give this some blue. And I'll mask out. Now I don't think, I think I did mention, But just for kicks and giggles here, I'm going to mention again that I can use a mask. There is a mask here on. I don't want to use a Recife brush though. I want to use a regular old brush. Stop. Click. And I'm masking out. I'm going to zoom in. And then B again. And I'm masking out around here. Or better yet, what's going on? All right, I'm going to come down to this layer and simply mask from that layer. That's what I need to be masking. So here I'll add the layer mask, and now I can make sure my brush is on 100%. So this is a simple project. I know it's a lot of layers and a lot of steps, but in terms of like advanced Photoshop, I wouldn't really call this advanced. I would call this one intermediate. But it's a key kind of thing to understand. Right, so I'm cleaning up around the glasses. It might just be easier if I used Polygon Lasso. And I'll fill this in with black. And it's starting to have the effect I want. Are you digging it? It's cool, right? All right, I'm going to stop here with the recording in a second. Please keep working if you'd like to, and we'll take a break, and then we're going to do the grass turf. Okay. Yes.
How did you get the glass on the mirror?
How did I get the just the glasses by themselves?
No, how did you get the glass on one layer?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Let me do this again. Option, delete, deselect, zoom out. So I'm going to pause my movie here. And we'll go on to the next one we'll take a break. We'll take a quick break. And last little bit here. Feel free to take about 10-15 minute break. Let's say 15 minutes, and we'll resume at 8 o'clock. And there you have it, the finished gift for my brother. He's Joe Cool to me. All right.